you know.
You know what? During the break, we were talking about, how much is enough? Enough of anything. From where does our desire come from anyway? And what about attachment? We were saying that perhaps it's, as a culture, we can only speak for our culture here in the Western world, but boy, we just are pleasure seeking creatures.
We are desire seeking, pleasure seeking, and mostly, maybe in Freud's world, we're avoidance of pain.
Yeah,
I mean,
avoidance
it
of
goes
pain.
on, it's a spectrum. Let's get
Right.
away from the pain, get to the pleasure. Pain, pleasure, pain, pleasure.
Right. Do you remember that study they did? I love to talk about this, where they did the delayed gratification study. I think it was at a very famous college where they had these children, several groups of children, all independently in rooms, and they had a little bowl of marshmallows. And they instructed each one of the children, if you don't touch the marshmallows, and when I come back in a half an hour, an even greater prize will await. Okay?
Right.
They followed these kids for 20 years. Of the kids who ate the marshmallows and the ones who didn't actually in the 99th percentile made over $100,000 a year, were all college graduates and were thriving in their life. Staggering results. Learning how to delay gratification. All the other ones that were broken homes, drug addiction. I mean, crazy. You can go online and check it out. I'm not making this up. Right? We do not know how to slow down and wait in this culture. We want everything now.
And
we want to get
bigger
on.
and better, and more importantly, better than you have.
That's right. And, it's just crazy. So if you're just tuning in with us, we're just exploring sex addiction, who's at risk today, and really kind of taking...
Everyone, by the way.
Yeah. Well, many of us are at risk because, as we were saying during the break, this is the way that we distract ourselves from what we're feeling, from what we don't like about our life, and even in a relationship. If my wife or my husband's bitching and moaning at me, I can go over here on the porn and there's a big vagina waiting for me, happily ready to greet me and take my money, and I can be in bliss for the next 10 minutes until the next time I do it. And then your credit card comes and they come and take your house and your car and your gubernatorial position and so on and so forth. So yeah,
Presidency, all kinds of things.
look, for folks who have been emailing us, where, by the way, just as an aside, where you can get a copy of Hindsight, What You Need to Know Before You Drop Your Drawers, by the way, which is an apt title right here. I've actually written an entire book about, getting involved with folks and maybe finding out things about them before you have sex, rather than after. It's difficult to navigate and negotiate a relationship when we don't do our due diligence. Go online, Amazon.com, or wherever fine books are sold. You can go to our website, www.maryannelive.com, and get a copy of Hindsight, What You Need to Know Before You Drop Your Doors, as another tool to help you investigate who you're dealing with, who you're getting involved with. It's a very painful thing to find out 10 years later you've been involved with
10 years, two
a
children,
sex addict.
and lost your house.
Yeah. So we want to do some of our homework up front, folks. That's what
Yeah.
David and I are doing here. So let's see.
We're not doing homework for you, but we just suggest that you
We're offering
do
some
a little
tools.
bit, a little bit yourself.
Yeah, shedding some light.
Yeah.
Look at Ben in Chicago
Ben.
says, I'm 31, and
Great question.
every time I see an attractive woman, almost any attractive woman, I imagine having sex with her. Does that make me an addict? Go, honey.
In my world, again, yes, because you are completely distracted and unable to think. You can't keep your mind on anything. You're out of focus, and it is a form of addiction. And if you can't control what's going on, you have a form of addiction. So, yeah.
Well, what about the studies that people glorify? They glamorize these studies. Well, men think about sex every 90 seconds. I'm like, oh, please, is that true? They've done studies.
Here's the reason I say this, Woody, is that he wouldn't have asked if he doesn't already know the question. That's the way I have it.
The answer, you mean.
Yeah, the answer. So you ask because you already know. And that's the truth. And I would say to Ben, in the most loving kind of way, why don't you go find someone to talk to about this, because it's obviously getting in the way of your life.
I mean, if that's all you think about when you look at somebody, I mean, honestly, I do think that that's an issue. As a matter of fact, I have a little thing that I wrote called Guys, Boys, Men. And I think part of that has to do that objectification, or just looking at women as sex objects, is really a kind of emotional immaturity. We haven't fully developed and seen the full potential of being human. As Jeff Bridges himself said, the richness of everything you have to offer: companionship, mental stimulation, spiritual seeking, being best friends. I mean, just somebody as a receptacle, that's rough and immature. And with all due respect, it's time for us to evolve as a culture and move into a more mature way of being in relationship, and bringing the sacred back to sex and taking out the objectification. It's not serving anybody, folks. So
Yeah.
good luck with that, Ben, in Chicago.